All right, how's everybody doing today? Hotep. Hey, this is Michael Imhotep, founder of the African History Network, host of the African History Network show. It is Friday, March 30th, 2018, and we are live Friday, March 30th, 2018. And I just read this breaking news story about 15, 20 minutes ago. Some of you saw my Facebook post about it, and I wanted to come on and talk about it for a little bit, okay, to let you all know what's going on. And I'm actually supposed to be working out right now, so I'm not going to be on here very long. But after seeing this news, I had to come on, okay? All right, so everybody's been following the Stephon Clark case, 22-year-old African-American male, shot and killed by police. It was nighttime. He was running home to his grandparents' house, to his grandmother's house, and shot and killed by police. Okay, well, an independent autopsy has been done, and USA Today has a breaking news story on this, as well as the Washington Post. Okay. And everybody share this broadcast on your Facebook page as well, okay? So USA Today is reporting that independent autopsy shows that Stephon Clark was shot 6 times in the back by police and twice in the side. The person who did the autopsy is Dr. Bennett Amalu. Now, his name sounds familiar. He is the doctor who discovered CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE, okay? And the movie Concussion was made about him. All right, so this article was updated at 2:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today from USA Today. Stephon Clark was shot 8 times from behind, independent autopsy finds. And it shows that, okay, the sound's messed up. Hopefully it'll work its way out. Okay. Let me see something here. Okay. So it says unarmed Stephon Clark was shot 8 times from behind and didn't die immediately from his gunshot wounds, according to an independent autopsy that was released Friday amid growing tensions in the city and across the nation. Okay. It sounds like the sound, is the sound all right now? Sounds like the sound is all right now. Okay. And then let me also post this information here. Let me post this information here and pin it so it stops moving. Okay, just give me a second here, because I'm doing all these jobs. Okay, there we go. So we'll pin that. All right. Just bear with me for a minute, everybody. Okay, there we go. All right, so back to the article here. Okay, so Clark's shooting death by 2 Sacramento police officers reignited the familiar anger and calls for justice after similar shootings by police of unarmed African-American men in the United States. Dr. Bennett Amalu, who conducted the autopsy, said that Stephon Clark was clearly shot from behind. 6 of the bullets hit the back of his body. He said the 2 others hit him in the side. The first bullet hit him in the side, Dr. Bennett Amalu said, who conducted this independent autopsy, which caused his body to turn. His back was facing officers when a barrage of 6 bullets hit him. 1 hit his neck, the others hit his back and shoulder. The last gunshot hit his thigh. And Dr. Bennett Amalu was explaining that Stephon Clark was either shot while on the ground or as he was falling. Dr. Amalu went on to say, quote, he was shot from the back, end quote. He was shot from the back, end quote. And he's known for his work on the effects of concussions, known for his work of the effects that concussions have on the brains of athletes. So he's the one who discovered CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. Now, Stephon Clark did not immediately die from his gunshot wounds, Dr. Umalu said. His death took up to 10 minutes. Now, if you heard my show Sunday night, the African History Network show on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, I played the clip from Politics Nation from this past Sunday, March 25th. And Reverend Al Sharpton interviewed Benjamin Crump, who is the family attorney. He's not the prosecuting attorney. Benjamin Crump is the family attorney in this case. And Benjamin Crump talked about how Stephon Clark laid on the ground for approximately 6.5 minutes after being shot and was given no medical attention, no first aid, nothing. Didn't try to stop bleeding, nothing. Okay. Now, so he said, so Dr. Umalu said Stephon Clark did not immediately die from his wounds. His death took up to 10 minutes. Now, the independent autopsy results were released during a Friday news conference today, just one day after Clark's funeral. His family hired attorney Benjamin Crump, a high-profile civil rights lawyer who has also represented the families of Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, and Michael Brown. Attorney Benjamin Crump said the results directly contradict the narrative from the Sacramento police. Quote, well, it's very simple. The narrative that had been put forth is that they had to open fire because he was charging at them. Well, obviously, based on Dr. Bennett Amalu's findings in the family's autopsy, it suggests all the bullets were from behind, end quote. Now, the official coroner's report has not been released. Officers who falsely thought that Stephon Clark was holding a gun fired 20 rounds at him. The Sacramento Police Department stated this after the shooting. Now, Stephon Clark was found only with a cell phone. Now, on Friday, on Thursday, Clark's funeral drew hundreds and spurred protests throughout the city. That was Thursday, March 29th, 2018. Now, since his death on March 18th, mostly nonviolent protests have stopped traffic, blocked access to 2 NBA basketball games, the King One Center where the Sacramento Kings play, and disrupted a local city meeting. Other Black Lives Matter protests, including one in New York. We showed you the one. BuzzFeed was on the ground in New York, and they broadcasted on Facebook Live. You saw us share that live broadcast on the African History Network fan page on Facebook. If you don't follow our fan page, the African History Network, make sure you follow it now. And also click the follow button so you get our notifications when we're on live, broadcasting live as well, okay? Because you're not going to get a lot of this information other places, all right? Okay, let's continue. All right, now, other Black Lives Matter protests, including one in New York, led to some arrests. Now, activist Reverend Al Sharpton, founder of the National Action Network, gave the eulogy on Thursday for 22-year-old Stephon Clark and derided the White House for dismissing the killing as a local matter. You saw the post we did. April Ryan, White House correspondent for American Urban Radio Networks, asked the question to Sarah Huckabee Sanders, White House press secretary, about the decision not to bring charges against the officers who shot and killed Alton Sterling, about the Stephon Clark killing, unarmed African-American man. And Sarah Huckabee Sanders largely said these were local issues. She said that Trump believes these are local issues. If you saw the post we did from thehill.com, right? This directly contradicts what was taking place under the Obama administration, because under President Obama, they oftentimes would do investigations into the patterns and practices of police departments, and then you have 14 or 15 consent decrees that came from this. Baltimore Police Department, Ferguson, Missouri, Chicago Police Department, which brings about reforms. Donald Trump and Jeff Sessions are totally against consent decrees. They have a hands-off policy on these police departments. They're giving them free reign. Not only are they giving them free reign, but Trump reversed President Obama's executive order when it came to giving the police departments the military weapons. Okay, President Obama stopped that program largely. Trump has totally reversed that to give them the military weapons. Okay, the military grade weapons. All right, so people do not understand elections have consequences. This is what I've been trying to explain to people. You're seeing this play out now. The Department of Justice is not going to do any investigations. They're not going to bring about any civil rights violations. They're not going to do any investigations into patterns and practices of police departments. And it was Congress that gave the Department of Justice that authority following the Rodney King beating. That's where that came from. And under President Obama, you have more investigations into the patterns and practices of police departments than any previous administration, going back to about 92, 93, when it was Congress that gave the Department of Justice that power to be able to do that. Okay. All right. So Sarah Huckabee Sanders said, quote, this is not a local, I'm sorry, no. Reverend Al Sharpton said, quote, this is not a local matter, end quote. They have been killing young black men all over the country. And we are here to say that we are going to stand with Stephon Clark and his family, end quote. Now, see, Trump said, okay, Sarah Huckabee Sanders says it's a local matter. And I haven't heard Trump say it's a local matter, so I'm going by what she said, because Trump undercuts his surrogates all the time, all right? But it's not a local matter when the federal government funds police departments, because they get some funding from the federal government. That's not a local matter then. Okay, the Department of Justice is nationwide. The police killings, police departments, approximately 18,500 police departments. They report police killings to the FBI. Now it's on a voluntary basis. It's on a voluntary basis, but FBI is national. FBI reports to the DOJ. The director of the FBI, Christopher Wray, reports to Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III. Okay, the head of the Department of Justice. So it's interesting how when you have unarmed African Americans being killed, that's a local issue. But when you have white people dropping dead of opioid addiction, when they're dropping dead of heroin addiction, that's a national crisis. That's a national epidemic. See, Trump didn't say that's a local issue. Leave that up to the localities, leave that up to the mayors, leave that up to the police departments. He didn't call that a local issue. I just find that very interesting. But see, once again, remember, see, Trump ran on the platform of law and order, partly on the platform of law and order, which is a throwback to Richard Nixon in 1968. I told you before, if you see my presentation, the lecture I do, African American Resistance in the Era of Donald Trump, Voter Suppression, Reparations, and How Elections Have Consequences, I told you before, law and order means to protect white people and lock up African Americans. That's what law and order means. Okay, so Reverend Al Sharpton said this is not a local matter. He said they have been killing young black men all over the country, and we are here to say that we are going to stand with Stephon Clark and his family. All right. Now, Stephon Clark's death is far from the first police interaction turned tragic, as the local chapter of Black Lives Matter lists a dozen violent encounters last year alone, 2017 alone. Some want police to face criminal charges. Some want police to face criminal charges and don black shirts. Okay, hold on. Okay, went away the article. Okay, I got it back up. Okay, so some want police to face criminal charges and don the black shirts calling for justice, a common sentiment after similar high-profile cases such as Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri in 2014, Philando Castile in I think that was 2015 or 16, Philando Castile in St. Paul, and Eric Garner as well in Staten Island. Now, there is hope, however, that Stephon Clark's death could bring the moment for change. All right, now, All right. Okay, so let's continue here. All right, so you have Joanne, who is president of the Oak Park Neighborhood Association, home to a large part of the city of Sacramento's African American population, said, quote, "It could be up to us to affect change, and we can do it because fundamentally we are highly diverse. We are a highly diverse integrated community." Joanne went on to say, quote, "We have black, brown, and white people all living next to each other. So what this really is a police training issue where people shoot first and ask questions later," she said. "It's a systemic problem national politicians don't seem to want to deal with, even though no town in America is immune to this." Now, Daniel Hahn, H-A-H-N, the first African American to lead the department, the police department. This is the Sacramento police chief, Sacramento Police Department's new police chief. Many point to him, okay? And Lindsey Williams, a member of the local Black Lives Matter movement, thinks that systemic changes in how police officers treat minorities will take time. Lindsey Williams said, quote, "There's an amazing solidarity among our community that cuts across races and agendas." Now, I'm 27 years old, so based on what I've lived through, I really don't expect changes. This country has not given me much to have faith in. Lindsey Williams then looked at the chanting crowd and smiled, but she said, "These people do." Okay, so that is from USA Today. Breaking news story from USA Today. The headline: Stephon Clark was shot 8 times, mostly to the back. Independent Autopsy finds 6 shots in the back, 2 shots in the side. So I think it was 2 in the side, 6 in the one account I said was 2. Yeah, 2 others hit him in the side and the thigh. Yeah, 6 shots in the back, Dr. Ben Amalu said, and 2 others hit him in the side and the thigh. All right, so that's from USA Today. Washington Post has an article, also breaking news story as well. Now, if you have been paying attention to what has been taking place with the Parkland survivors, like David Hogg, they have been engaging in economic guerrilla warfare. So David Hogg was called out by what's her name, Laura Graham on a Fox News show, and she taunted him about not being accepted to college with a 4.1 GPA. So what did he do? He went on Twitter and talked to his 650,000 followers on Twitter, and I just checked his Twitter page. He has 672,000 followers on Twitter. He listed about 12 of her advertisers. Let me look at this here. He listed 12 of her advertisers. He did this post. Listen to me. He did this post on, let's see, she did this tweet March 28th, which was 2 days ago, and he responded on March 28th. That was Wednesday. He listed 12 advertisers: Sleep Number, AT&T, Nutrish, Allstate and E-Insurance, Rocket Mortgage, Liberty Mutual, Arby's, TripAdvisor, Nestle, Hulu, and Wayfair. Okay. And you have at least 11 of these advertisers who pulled their ads from Laura Ingram's Fox News cable network show since Wednesday. This dude is, I think he's 18. Hold on. It's breaking up. Just a second. All right. So since Wednesday, Laura Ingraham, who's a well-known conservative pundit, well-known conservative talk show host, has lost 11 advertisers from white corporations. And one of the things that we have to understand is our history of engaging in economic boycotts, various economic withdrawal strategies. I go beyond economic boycotts. I talk about economic guerrilla warfare. If you look at what happened to Bill O'Reilly, Bill O'Reilly was fired by Fox News because 80 advertisers put pressure, because 80 advertisers pulled their ads from his TV show on Fox News. This was after the article came out from the New York Times that stated that he and Fox News paid $13 million to settle 5 sexual harassment lawsuits. But colorofchange.org, or Color of Change, which is an African-American organization, was at the forefront of these organizations putting pressure on advertisers to cut ties with Bill O'Reilly's show. And they got about 325,000 signatures on an online petition. They contacted advertisers directly and put pressure on advertisers, and 80 advertisers, and they work with other organizations, but Color of Change was at the forefront. They got Bill O'Reilly. The Fox News fired Bill O'Reilly because the show was no longer profitable. So we need to understand engaging in economic guerrilla warfare, targeted sustained economic withdrawal, and redirecting dollars to African-American owned businesses, because this is what should happen in Sacramento. You should have boycotts of the businesses in the downtown business district, especially the corporations in downtown business district. Redirect dollars to African-American owned banks and credit unions. Stop playing the lottery. Stop playing, because the lottery is state owned. Stop playing the state lottery. Stop playing the lotto. I would have a boycott of all the sports teams. I would have a boycott of all the sports. Now the Sacramento Kings have talked about putting together, reaching out to the community, putting together some type of fun, things like this. They haven't canceled any games. They haven't canceled. See, now let's look at this. The NBA, when you had the All-Star game, was in the All-Star game was in North Carolina. The governor, North Carolina state legislature, and the governor, they signed into law the North Carolina bathroom bill. The NBA moves the All-Star game from North Carolina to another state in protest. Is the NBA going to come out in protest of the killing of Stephon Clark? And we know the NBA is about 80% African-American. The players, they're about 80% African-American. Are they going to come out and protest? So we must understand economic guerrilla warfare. 3 main principles of economic guerrilla warfare. Number 1, redistribute the pain of those inflicting pain upon us through targeted, sustained economic withdrawal strategies. Now, the term redistribute the pain comes from Dr. King, April 3rd, 1968, his last speech, I've been to the mountaintop. We're coming up on the 50th anniversary of Dr. King. Most people never read Dr. King. Most people do not understand Dr. King. Dr. King wrote 5 books. Most people never read 1 page or 1 book that Dr. King actually wrote himself. I'm not talking about biographers of Dr. King. No, Dr. King wrote 5 books. His last book was Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or Community. I have 2 of his books here in my other stack. Okay. So in his last speech, he talked about, he was speaking to the sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee. And he said, we have to kind of find a way to redistribute the pain. He said, up until now, only the sanitation workers have experienced the pain. And he told them, he said, go out and tell your friends or family in Memphis, Tennessee to boycott Wonder Bread, Hart's Bread, Coca-Cola, and Seal-Test Milk because of their discriminatory hiring practices here in Memphis, Tennessee. He said, we have to build a greater economic basis, okay? He said, take your money out of the banks downtown and put your money in Tri-State Bank. Now, at the time, Tri-State Bank was an African-American owned bank in Memphis, Tennessee. He said, we have to have a bank-in movement, okay? He said, we have to not a sit-in, but a bank-in, all right? And when you saw the Black Bank movement start in February of 2016, I think it was, you saw them use the hashtag bank-in. That comes from Dr. King, April 3rd, 1968, Memphis, Tennessee. I've been to the mountaintop. He said, you have 6 or 7 insurance companies here in Memphis. He said, take out your insurance policies there, okay? He talked about building, he's talked about supporting African-American institutions and redistributing the pain through economic withdrawal of those inflicting pain upon us. When you know, a lot of people talk about the Montgomery bus boycott, December 5th, 1955 to December 20th, 1956, lasted 381 days. But a lot of people don't know about the Baton Rouge, not Baton Rouge, that was 1953, the Tuskegee, Alabama economic boycott of 1957 that lasted 4 years. Okay, so you can't hear me? Can you all hear me? You should be able to hear me, because I'm listening right now. Okay. Okay, so you heard me talk about Dr. King. You heard me talk about Dr. King, April 3rd, 1968. I've been to the mountaintop, right? He talked about redistributing the pain. He talked about boycotting Hart's Bread, Coca-Cola, Wonder Bread, and Sealtest Milk in Memphis, Tennessee, because of the discriminatory hiring practices. He talked about how he said we don't have to curse people out. We don't have to throw bricks. We don't have to throw Molotov cocktails. He said, all we have to do is go around to these businesses and industries and tell them that God sent us by here to tell you that you're not treating his children correctly. He said, and we want you to make the first item on your agenda fair treatment of God's children. He said, now, if you're not prepared to do that, then we're prepared to withdraw our economic support from you. This was his last speech was about 43 minutes long. There is a reason why they only show you the last 2 minutes. There's a reason why they only show you the last 2 minutes on the television. So they show you the last 2 minutes. I'm talking about, I've been to the mountaintop. You know, we might not get there as a people. We might not get there together, but we as a people get to the promised land. They show you those last 2 minutes. They don't show you him talking about economic empowerment and economic boycotts. They don't show you that. You have to go watch that on YouTube. Okay? So, and if you look at what's taking place right now, if you look at the Parkland survivors and you look at the backlash against the gun manufacturers that's taking place, one, a lot of people have found out that they are invested in gun manufacturers, but didn't know it through their 401k plans and their pension plans, and they're starting to divest from from gun manufacturers. Two, a lot of people are finding out that they are invested in privatized prisons and didn't know it. It's through their 401k plans and through their pension fund plans. I'm not against 401k plans and pension funds. You need that for retirement. I'm not against that. But get with your benefits manager to find out which industries you are invested in. Okay, a lot of people don't understand this. A lot of people are financing gun manufacturers and privatized prisons and don't know it. All right, read the article from the New York Times. You might be giving gun companies money even if you don't own a gun. You might be giving gun companies money even if you don't own a gun. That's from February 26, 2018. They talk about the pension funds, the index funds, and 401k plans. Okay. And then also we've seen the NRA, because of pressure put on corporations, people went to the social media pages this is why social media is so powerful, right? Instead of posting twerking videos and who's sleeping with who and what happened on Love and Hip Hop, okay, you could go to these social media pages of corporations, and you can make a huge difference. Because what happened was, the reason why Walmart and Dick's Sporting Goods and I think it was LL Bean, the reason why they raised the minimum age to buy a gun at 21, and some of them stopped selling assault rifles like Walmart, is because people went to their social media pages and blew them up. People went to their social media pages and complained. Okay. New York Times, Walmart and Dick's raise minimum age for gun buyers to 21. Two of the nation's leading gun sellers, Walmart and Dick's Sporting Goods, took steps on Wednesday to limit their sales of firearms, thrusting themselves into the middle of the polarizing national debate over gun control. Which one is it here? Oh, I think it's the article from NBC News where they talk about it. The other thing is that the city of New York, they divested, the city employees in the city of New York divested $48 million in pension fund dollars. This happened in June of 2017. This is not theory, this actually happened. See, a lot of people talk a lot of theory. No, I'm talking about stuff that actually happened. Once it happens, it's no longer theory, it's called history. New York Daily News, NYC pension fund to back out of investments in private prisons. NYC pension fund to back out of investments in private prisons. They actually did it when you research this. And I saw on Politics Nation, Reverend Al Sharpton did a segment on this on MSNBC, and he interviewed one of the people who was instrumental in this. The city employees of the city of New York found out they were invested in privatized prisons. They were invested in 3 privatized prisons. Core Civic, which used to be Corrections Corporation of America, the largest owner-operator of privatized prisons in the country. Geo Group, which used to be Wackenhut, and G4S. And they sold off $48 million in stocks and bonds of 3 private prisons. And that's something huge. That's an example of redistributing the pain through targeted economic withdrawal strategies, because a lot of people, you know, they say, look, you may have privatized prisons, but you're not going to do it with our money. And people who are fighting against the gun manufacturers, because the NRA exists to protect the gun manufacturers. They don't protect the rights of gun owners. That's a shield. They're really there to protect the gun manufacturers. Okay. NBCnews.com, February 24th, 2018. More companies cut ties with the NRA after customer backlash. More companies cut ties with the NRA after customer backlash. More and more American businesses, including car rental companies and airlines and insurance giant and a major bank, are severing ties with the National Rifle Association in the face of torrents of criticism from customers on social media. Customers went on social media and blasted these corporations for having ties to the NRA and giving discounts to the 5 million members of the NRA. You've seen about 20 corporations in about 30 days cut ties with the NRA. That's the power of economic withdrawal, understanding how to leverage the dollars that you spend with corporations to push your issues, to push your agendas. Okay? So check out these articles here, because this stuff is real. This is not theory. A lot of people come to me all the time with a bunch of theory. What I'm showing you is documented. This is not theory. This stuff happened. This is history. Okay? How's everybody doing? Inbox me. If anybody here watching is in Sacramento, I don't know anybody offhand in Sacramento. I know people in Los Angeles. I can't think of anybody in Sacramento. Okay, because I don't know the lay of the land in Sacramento. I hope people are focusing on engaging in economic guerrilla warfare. Okay, let me break this down for you, and then let me post this also. Hey, be sure to if you like this type of information, sign up for our email newsletter. Text the word Kemet, K-E-M-E-T, to 22828 to sign up for our email newsletter. Number 1, we send out an email newsletter about 5 times a week. We're going to send one out today. 2, be sure to follow us here on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, and share this broadcast on your Facebook page also. Okay. 3, we'll post the information here. You can, I'm doing my online lecture on tomorrow, Saturday, March 31st, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. dealing with the film Black Panthers, a live online lecture. It's at our online school platform. It won't be on Facebook, all right? And you can watch it live and then watch it over and over again. You can register for that. We just posted that information. You can also go to AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, register there. It's only $10 for that. You can register over and over again. We also have the 6-course online bundle pack of 6 of my online courses, 5 on demand. The 6th one is the Black Panther. You can check all that information out, okay? All right, now, so 3 main principles of economic guerrilla warfare. Then we'll get out of here. Number 1, redistribute the pain to those inflicting pain upon us through targeted, sustained economic withdrawal strategies. There are various types of economic withdrawal strategies that we've used throughout history. This is why we need to study them and study successes that we've had, okay? Study wins. It's not just standing in front of a store with a picket sign, okay? And with social media now, I mean, it's extremely powerful. We look at what the kids are doing with Parkland and the impact they're having. It's like, dude, look, no, we really need to organize, okay? 2, redirect dollars to African-American owned businesses so we can become the #1 employers of our own people, just like every other ethnic group in America. It's not about hating anybody, okay? It's about supporting your own business. It doesn't mean we're going to spend 100% of our dollars with our own people. No, that's not going to happen. But right now we spend 3%. We go from 3% to 10%. If you read, you can read all of my articles at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. If you read the article that I wrote dealing with why does a dollar last only 6 hours in African American community, something like that. That statistic is suspect, but the information in the article is accurate. The Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University, one of the top business schools in the country, they did a study and they found that between 500,000 and 1 million jobs could be created if 100,000 African-American households with annual incomes of $75,000 or more spent 1 out of every $10 with African-American owned businesses. That's 10%. If 100,000 African-American households that have annual incomes of $75,000 or more, if they spend 1 out of every $10 with African-American owned businesses, that's 10%, 500,000 to 1 million jobs could be created. That's doable. Right now it's 3%. We know African-American women are creating businesses at 6 times the national average. We know U.S. Census Bureau survey of Black-owned businesses, 2007, 1.9 million African-American owned businesses. Their survey of Black-owned businesses, 2012, 2.6 million African-American owned businesses. Today it's probably 3 million. We know African-American women are creating businesses at 6 times the national average also. Okay, so we have to look at what's taking place, because I'm looking at examples of economic guerrilla warfare that these teenagers are doing and engaging in. And we need to really pay attention to this. Okay? And then the third main principle of economic guerrilla warfare, and I coined that term, is renegotiate our relationship with corporate America. Renegotiate our relationship with corporate America. You leverage the dollars that you spend with various corporations to push your agendas and redirect dollars that they spend to put money in African-American owned banks, to spend dollars with African-American owned advertising agencies, take out ads when it comes to African-American media, news1.com, TV One, OWN, or Aspire. These media outlets need advertisers. They need advertising dollars. Okay? African-American radio stations. Where do you spend your money with African-American? You know, when you buy radio ads. I sold radio ads here in Detroit about 20 years ago. It's hard selling radio ads for African-American radio. Talk radio is very hard, but even African-American music stations, R&B, it's easier with hip-hop. Contemporary R&B is harder. Where are they putting their dollars? These dollars are coming from us. Now, I've heard Reverend Al Sharpton, because I listen to his radio show, Keeping It Real. And on that, you know, I'm a talk show host here in Detroit on 910 a.m. the Superstation WFDF. I'm on every Sunday night, the African History Network show. We have about 824, 825 audio podcasts of my shows at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. I just uploaded one today from the broadcast I did yesterday. You can check that out. But one of the things Reverend Al Sharpton talked about, and he's correct. You may not like him, but I don't get caught up on personality. I get caught up on the truthfulness of what they say. He said, when you have these various corporations and we have pension funds with these companies, or we have 401k plans with these companies, what percentage of their financial advisors that are investing our money are African American? Which companies are they using? Are any of the companies that they're using to invest our dollars? Are these African American investment companies? These are things that we need to investigate and push. It's like, wait a second, no, we need to redirect those dollars. And these are things that people don't think about, because when I do my presentations, I do my lectures, I talk to a lot of people. A lot of people don't realize that they may be invested in privatized prisons and don't even know it. So on the one hand, you could be out protesting against the criminal justice system. On the other hand, you could be financing the criminal justice system and don't even know it. So this is why we have to understand how all of this works. Politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. Politics impacts every aspect of your life. Now, I hear a lot of people say, I'm not into politics. Wow, politics is into you. You pay taxes, politics is into you. You pay sales tax, politics is into you. People say we need to focus on economic empowerment and not politics. Well, my degree's in business administration. I know more about business than most people. I know if you open up a restaurant, then I know that you are subject to a health inspection from the health department, which is a government entity, and unannounced health inspection. Number one. Number two, I know that you have to have a license to handle food if you open up a restaurant. There are regulations, government regulations, that you have to abide by. Your employees have to wear hair nets. They have to wash their hands. The food has to be at a certain temperature. That's government regulation. So even when you own a business, you still are impacted by politics. There's a zoning board in almost every city that determines which businesses can go where. You can't have certain businesses within a certain proximity of churches and schools. Certain businesses can't stay open past a certain time. In many cities, like here in Detroit, bars can't stay open past 2 p.m. and 2 a.m. If they stay open, they can't serve alcohol past 2 a.m. That's regulation. That's government. That's set by city council. If you own a restaurant or a bar and you want to serve alcohol, you have to get a liquor license. That's from the state government. That's government. So many people talk about, oh, I'm not into politics. Politics is all up in your ass, and you don't even understand it. You better be involved in politics. Politics is involved in you. Politics is the legal distribution of scarce wealth, power, and resources, and the writing of laws, statutes, ordinances, amendments, and treaties, their adoption, interpretation, and enforcement. So even if you own a business, I managed a business where we had contracts with the county of Wayne. That's a reallocation of taxpayer dollars. That's government. We had to go through the process, bid on the contract. We had to fulfill the contract. That's government. You ever collect unemployment before? Where did the unemployment come from? They ain't come from Santa Claus. That came from the government. You get Social Security? That's not from the Easter Bunny. That's from the government. You get SNAP. You get supplemental nutrition. You get all that's from the government. So I hear a lot of people say, I'm not into politics. Politics is all into you. You have a driver's license? You have a Social Security card? Yeah, that may sound good, like, in a debate. It doesn't hold water. We need to deal with real facts and evidence. Okay, so, also, check out this article here. Black St. Louis leaders call on supporters to boycott Target in wake of officer's acquittal. Now, this is in St. Louis. This is a few months ago, and I hate, I just talked to Roland Martin. It was either yesterday or day, I think it was yesterday. Because I used to guest host this national radio show, and I was texting Roland yesterday, man. And I hate that Roland's show is not on the air anymore. News One Now with Roland Martin. I was watching his Facebook Live broadcast from Operation Hope, the convention that John Hope Bryan is having. I was watching that, man, because we need a show like News One Now, man. And you know, I'm trying to give Sister Circle a chance. It's for African American women, and you know, Selena Johnson's one of my, you know, one of my sisters, Zeta Phi Beta sorority. I'm Phi Beta Sigma. But that, oh my God, that show. I'm okay. I'm not gonna speak negatively about it. but to me, they should have kept rolling show, cancel Sister Circle Live. No offense to the sisters. And cut like half of the murder reenactment shows, because they got about 15 murder reenactment shows on TV One. I don't know why. It's not like we need to see more black people being killed. I mean, that's just me. Black St. Louis leaders call on supporters to boycott Target in wake of officers' acquittal. Now, this is from AtlantaBlackStar.com, okay? A support YourBlackWorld.net, YourBlackWorld.net, AtlantaBlackStar.com, TheGrio.com, GRIO, TheGrio.com, NewsOne.com, and Financial Juneteenth. These are all African-American owned news sources, okay? And these are all because Byron Allen owns TheGrio, Kathy Hughes, TV1, all the Radio One, Syndication, all that. That's NewsOne.com. Dr. Boyce Watkins is YourBlackWorld.net. And Dr. Boyce, he's a friend of mine. I contribute content to YourBlackWorld.net, and I write articles for them sometimes. So I know they're African-American owned and operated. AtlantaBlackStar.com is Neil Nelson. Okay. Oh, also BlackAmericaWeb.com. Black America. I get a lot of information from Black America Web. I monitor about 35 different news sources on a daily basis. Okay. I do this full time. This is I'm the founder of the African History Network. I'm a radio talk show host. I do media. I do research. I do this full time. Okay. So I hear a lot of people say we need our own media. We need our own media. We do have our own media. We need to support our own media. I just gave you like 6 African-American media sources. We do have our own media. We need more, but we need to support what's there. Okay, so this is from AtlantaBlackStar.com, November 6, 2017. This was in response to the acquittal of former police officer Jason Stockley in the 2011 killing of Anthony Lamar Smith, okay, in St. Louis. You probably saw them talk about this on News One Now, Roland Martin. The acquittal came in late 2017. And what transpired from that is that African-American business leaders and faith leaders call for economic boycotts in St. Louis against corporations, okay? And they have FinalCall.com. Final Call is another one, African-American owned. You don't have to like the Nation of Islam. You don't have to like Minister Farrakhan, but they have some good articles there at Final Call also, okay? So they had an article from November 14, 2017 also, FinalCall.com. No justice, no profit, as not spending becomes weapon for justice. No justice, no profit, as not spending becomes weapon for justice. And they talked about what was going on in St. Louis. They talked about the no justice, no profit initiative. And their initiative, their boycott includes Target, the department store, Target, the big box retailer Target, U.S. Bank, Burger King, Shell gas stations, grocery chain Schnucks, Gap Inc., the clothing store, the Gap, fall into the Gap, Goldman Sachs, and the St. Louis Galleria Mall. Instead of shopping at these businesses, pay attention. Instead of shopping at these businesses, organizers are directing supporters to the website NoJusticeNoProfit.us, NoJusticeNoProfit.us for a list of black banks, websites, and storefronts to patronize instead. Now, what they're doing is brilliant. What they're doing is brilliant. If somebody's watching from St. Louis, you know these people inbox me here on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network. I want to interview somebody. We have 1 million followers here on our fan page. Thousands of people will be watching this video throughout the day and tomorrow. We upload it to our YouTube channel, to our audio podcast, all that stuff. So they set up a website with a list of businesses to boycott and a list of African-American businesses to support. Because when you tell people don't support this business, you have to give them another business to support, okay, to redirect those dollars. The other thing is extremely important. All these protests taking place. Protests in New York that took place, I think it was yesterday, the day before yesterday. I think it was Wednesday. Protests in New York. Protests in Sacramento. You're going to have protests all this weekend. I'll tell you now, after they found out that this brother was shot 6 times in the back and once in the side and once in the thigh, there's going to be protests all this week. At the end of the protest, you got 1,000 people out there, 2,000 people. At the end of the protest, after you lay down in the street, after you lay down on the tarmac and kept planes from flying off, if you stand in front of the businesses and keep people from coming in, march your black ass down to black-owned businesses and buy them out. You don't have 1,000 people together, 500 people, 2,000 people together, and you don't go redirect that energy to support African-American owned businesses. See, this is why we have to rethink this. Because I see a lot of protests where they galvanize people and there's a lot of energy, but that energy is not redirected to supporting our businesses. We'll oftentimes take pride in standing in front of a white-owned business, interrupting their business, but don't take that same pride in redirecting that energy and those dollars to our own businesses. So we can support them, and our businesses are the ones most likely to employ our own people. And take your white friends with you. Take the white people who are out protesting, take them with you down there too. If Black lives matter to white people, then white dollars matter to black people. Take them with you also. Okay, so check this out. But this stuff is serious. This stuff is serious. But there are things we can do. And then also you have to, so I talk about economic guerrilla warfare, right? Redistribute the pain to target and sustain economic withdrawal strategies, redirect dollars to African-American owned businesses so we could become the #1 employees of our own people, renegotiate our relationship with corporate America. That's redistribute the pain. The other side is political self-defense. This goes way beyond voting. Political self-defense. If the laws are being used against you, if the laws are being used to kick your behind and beat you upside your head, then we need to understand the law better than they understand the law. We need to know where the booby traps are. We need to know where the pitfalls are. We need to understand the Constitution better than they do. We need to understand the charter better than they do. We need to understand the laws better than they do if they're designed to trap us so you can avoid the trap, so you can avoid getting caught up in that. And then, so political self-defense deals with understanding the laws, disarming them of that, using it against them, but also leveraging our vote, because we got to vote these people who are mistreating us. If there's a mayor, if there's a city council stealing from you, if they're giving billions of dollars or millions of dollars, the corporations giving them tax breaks to build stadiums, okay, that most of us can't afford to go to or pay the parking in the parking lot to be able to go to the stadium, vote their behinds out of office. When you start having a mass uprising and you 67% of the population, you 50% of the population, only 10% of you all coming out to vote, that don't even make sense. You have the vote. In a lot of these cities, a lot of this stuff can stop. If there's a mass uprising and you say we're not going to take it anymore and we vote these jackasses out of office. Seriously, you fire them. Election day is the opportunity for us to literally fire people that have been screwing us over. Now, when you stay at home, see, if you go out and march, right, that usually doesn't fire them. Once in a while, there may be a lot of pressure, and they say, okay, I'm going to resign, and they may stay on the payroll as a consultant or something like that, whatever. Election day is your opportunity to actually fire these people, to send them packing. When there's a massive uprising and there's a huge turnout and they come out and fire people, that sends a clear message: we're not going to take this anymore. As long as you stay home, especially if you're the majority of the population in the city, like here in Detroit. Negroes in Detroit need to wake the hell up. I'm telling you, we're the majority of the population. You let a minority population rule over you, nobody's going to feel sorry for you. They're like, dude, what's wrong with you? In Chicago, Mayor Rahm Emanuel, I told people when I was doing national radio, I used to guest host Roland Martin's show, his national radio show, and I did my national radio show, the Michael Imhotep Show on the Empowerment Radio Network. There are 700 African Americans. There are 3 million, approximately 3 million African Americans in Chicago. They're the largest ethnic group in Chicago. Approximately 700,000 African Americans registered to vote. And in 2015, when they had the primary, when it was the primary with Mayor Rahm Emanuel and Jesus Garcia and the one other brother, Willie, I forgot his last name. Only 150,000 African Americans came out to vote. 700,000 registered to vote. Only about 150,000 came out to vote. They had the votes to vote Mayor Rahm Emanuel out of office. But they didn't do it. So then there was a runoff between the two top vote getters because nobody got 50% or more. Mayor Rahm Emanuel won again. Then he releases the Laquan McDonald tape, which he already had the tape. He was waiting to be reelected before he released it because he knew if he released it before he was reelected, it would be a massive uprising and he would not be reelected. Then he released it. All hell breaks loose in Chicago. People saying, Mayor Rahm Emanuel must go, 16 shots, he must resign, blah, blah, blah. He's still there. People have to see, we don't really understand the power that we have. And your thoughts create feelings, your feelings create actions and behaviors, your actions and behaviors create results. Your thoughts create feelings, your feelings create actions and behaviors, your actions and behaviors create results. These 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds from Parkland, they're realizing the power that they have. They're using social media. They're putting pressure on corporations. Corporations are responding. We have to understand the practice of really leveraging the dollars that we have. See, this is why, I interviewed Dr. Claude Anderson. Dr. Claude Anderson is one of my teachers. I love Dr. Anderson, but I disagree with him sometimes. You can go back February 19, 2018, President's Day, interviewed Dr. Claude Anderson. We talked about DACA. We talked about immigration. We did it here on Facebook Live. About 30,000 people have viewed it so far. Go to on our Facebook fan page, the African History Network, click on videos. You can go back and watch it. And we have the audio podcast at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com also. And it's on our iTunes channel, the African History Network show on iTunes. So he talks about building an economic base. Black people need to build an economic base, etc. I'm all for that. But my definition of the economic base is broader. Economic base is not just businesses. Economic base is also where you spend your dollars. Economic base is also where you invest your dollars. As we see with the example from the city of New York, and the city employees divested $48 million in their pension funds. Many of us have pension funds, we have 401k funds, we buy stocks. That's also an economic base. The TV shows you watch is an economic base as well. Why? Because advertisers, corporations spend money to advertise on TV shows. Well, where did they get a lot of that money? They got a lot of that money from us. So when you understand the real power that you have, and it's more than just businesses that you own, it's where you spend your dollars, it's where you invest your dollars, it's the TV shows you watch also to put pressure on corporations, okay, to withdraw economic support from shows that are doing us harm, like Bill O'Reilly's show, who was a totally anti-black show, basically. When we understand the real power that we have, we'll start to use it more, and we'll start to use it in a systemized, a systemic way. Okay, so how's everybody doing? All right, so if you like this type of information, visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. You can read articles that I write. You can listen to my audio podcasts. We definitely do them every Sunday. We do a live. I'm in the radio studio, 9, 10 a.m. the Superstation. We have some audio podcasts throughout the week. I just uploaded one today from yesterday talking about the latest issue of National Geographic, how National Geographic admits decades of racism. I'm doing an online lecture on Saturday, March 31st, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, an analysis of the film Black Panther, the cultural relevance, the cultural, the infusion of African culture, African history. That's at our online school. It won't be on Facebook, okay? It's $10 to register for that. We just posted the information. You can go to AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, register there. Also, you can register for the online 6-course bundle pack of 6 of my online courses that includes Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. And it also includes the Black Panther lecture. All these you can watch over and over again. All of my DVD lectures are there at AfricanHistoryNetwork.com also. AfricanHistoryNetwork.com as well. All right. If they keep killing us, maybe we need to come together and fight back if they don't stop. I'm telling you, when we start fighting back with our dollars, and when we start fighting back with our votes, because people have to understand, the police chief is appointed by the mayor usually. The police chief is not an elected official. The sheriff is an elected official. The police chief is appointed by the mayor. The mayor is elected by the people. The city council approves the police department's budget. City council, those are elected people. The tone for policing is usually set by the mayor and the city council. So those are all elected officials. So as long as you keep letting these people, especially a minority population, rule over you, keep mistreating you, they're going to keep mistreating you. You got to rise up and fire them, and we have to run better candidates. Also, very important position is the county prosecutor. County prosecutor is very important. And then in some states, like in the state of New York, what they've done is Governor Cuomo signing a law that if it's a police shooting, then it goes to a state prosecutor as opposed to a local city prosecutor to take it out of the local hands. But we have to understand how laws and policies impact all of this. Okay. All right. Police superintendent. Well, in some cities, there's a police superintendent. Other cities don't have a police superintendent. Okay. Chicago has a police superintendent, whereas in Sacramento, it appears it's a chief of police. See, in Detroit, it's a chief of police that's over the police department. So you want to look at that particular locale because you see some variances there. Okay, dollars voting every other weapon we can wield. Dollars are extremely powerful. We don't understand how powerful they are because we haven't really studied our history of using various types of economic withdrawal strategies as well as other people. If you look at the TV show, Sorority Sisters that was on VH1, very derogatory show. A lot of African-American women said it negatively depicted African-American sororities. So what they do, you had African-American organizations that organized, they put pressure, they contacted advertisers, they put pressure on advertisers. 19 advertisers pulled their ads from that show, and you haven't heard anything about it since. VH1 put the show on the shelf. They ran the remaining episodes back to back, put that show on the shelf. You haven't heard anything else about it. But see, people who respect themselves don't let other people disrespect them, and they leverage their dollars to push their agendas. This is why we have to understand economic guerrilla warfare. Okay, we should also boycott businesses that sponsor police stations. Yeah, you're going to do that, and yeah, you're going to have to do that, and it may vary from city to city. Okay, but also the other thing that we have to look at in these various cities of the police union contracts. I'm not anti-police. I'm anti-police brutality. Okay, and a lot of the police officers' contracts gives them way too much leeway. All right, okay, guys. Look, we got to get out of here. Everybody, Marcus. I'll try to respond to some of your comments here on the thread. Everybody. Visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. And then those watching also, you can register for the Black Panther online lecture I'm doing Saturday, March 31st, dealing with the film Black Panther. And you can watch it over and over again. It'll be on demand also. Saturday, March 31st, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, look, we got to get out of here. Hey, remember, at the African History Network, we focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world, because right now it's correct your own behavior. What you do for yourself, what you do to yourself, and what you allow other people to do to you and get away with is based upon what you think about yourself. What you think about yourself is based upon what you have been taught about yourself. What you've been taught about yourself is based upon everything you've read, heard, and seen about yourself. So when you control the radius of a man's thoughts, you can control the circumference of his actions, because the mind can't do or teach what it doesn't know. Remember, people's history and culture teaches them how to deal with the problems of the past in the present and the future to meet the needs of the community. And people's history and culture teaches them how to deal with the problems of the past in the present and the future to meet the needs of the community. Remember, right now it's correct your own behavior. It's not over till we win. We'll talk to you next time. Peace.